Gentle dun sa tummy. Switch na.
Hi, Dalridge. What's going on? By the way, welcome to another live Q&A, and we're going to answer questions again here. Any question you have about life, marketing, pay-per-click, you name it. We'll cover it on this video. I don't care what the question's about. I'm not afraid to answer anything. My knowledge, my brain, my life is an open book. So usually on these live streams, hi Gaston, I'm starting out with a preamble of what's going on lately and so forth. I do want to also talk a little bit about what's going on lately with this channel. So first of all, we're switching to I'm going to a higher resolution streaming software, OBS, versus StreamYard to stream our live streams here. And just trying to get accustomed to it. So what I want to do is if you guys see any issues with the video, audio, anything like that, I'd appreciate if you could give me some feedback and let me know if it can be improved or you think it's worse or better than last time. That'd be great. It's not going to make a huge difference on today's, but on the live optimization series that we're doing on Wednesday, it'll make a big difference. I'm sure, because the screen sharing is going to be nice and crisp now using that. Also, I'd like some feedback on, these live streams are coming along good. Routinely, we're getting about 150 views a live stream now, like predictably. And it keeps getting slowly better and better, more and more popular all the time, to the point where we have a crowd of people who like to watch the live streams instead of the long videos. So what I've decided to do was take the live streams further. I wanted to do literally 5 live streams a week on different topics, and of which I wanted to run past my audience/community here what you guys thought about the potential topics, or maybe had some other idea or input. Of the 3, I was looking at doing 1 live stream a week that would just critique other influencers' strategies and, maybe also anything, in the news, major news updates, something like this. Like what's on Google's blog, stuff like this, but mainly focusing on what other influencers are saying is the best strategy to use to get results with online advertising, critiquing it, talking about the good aspects of it, the bad, so you guys kind of also know what is reliable, what's not, because not all the other info out there is bad. Most of it is bad because you got non-PPC experts using ChatGPT to literally create scripts and stuff like that. And I'd like you guys to know what's reliable, what's not. And then, with the live stream format, you guys can say, hey, what about this video? And I'll just start taking requests. Hey, audit this one. And I'll watch it together with you guys, and I'll pause it at intervals, and then we'll just discuss what parts of it is bullshit, what's just not. And that would be the first idea. Hi, Think and Grow Successful. Hi, Dracon. The other live stream that I had planned was to do a actual, how to write ad copy, how to write landing pages, and how to make landing pages. So, because I saw online, a lot of people want to know how to they want courses on that exact thing. And as far as I know, there's really not much courses out there. I mean, there's Facebook courses, yes, and this and that, but nothing specifically on ad copywriting and landing page creation. itself. So I was thinking on these live streams, what we could do is I was going to actually pull from a library of ads and landing pages that I've made in the past. And I'll explain why we wrote the ad that we did, or made the landing page we did, parts of it that, each aspect of it, why we did what we did, how well it worked, what didn't work. And then, that will be basically like a mini course on how to do your own ads and landing pages. Since we've worked in hundreds of industries already and have hundreds of other examples, there'll be lots of material there. I can just micro-analyze together with you why these are the best ones to use and how to do it in a bunch of different markets. And then in the live stream format, we would also take requests like, hey, Corey, how would you write an ad for this market? How would you make a landing page for this market? And I'll just go over what it is that I would do there, which is, I know it's similar to our live optimization series, but it gets into specifically, copywriting. And that in and itself is, I just wanted to be able to go deeper on ultimately. And, along with that, we could touch a little bit about targeting, stuff like that, and making sure you get the right traffic to see the ad and the landing page and all that, because they kind of go hand in hand. But in essence, if you will, it's how to create a funnel, if you will. And then the third live stream idea that I had for, because we were going to do one live stream per, Monday through Friday. The other one I was planning to do was actual sales funnel audits. So we would actually go out and analyze other people's sales funnels. So I would just pick an industry like lawn care or like, gold IRAs, something like this. We would use tools to be able to get the ads to trigger, and I'll analyze each of the ads in that space. I want to focus on Google ads and, display ads that are run through Google Display Network, since I know the most about it. And that's what most people who watch this channel are interested in. And I'll click through each ad and I'll say which ads are good, which ones are bad, which landing pages are good, which are bad. If they have multi-steps on the process, we'll analyze those. Hell, we might even call them up and then, see if their sales process is any good. But I think that'll be interesting because ultimately it'll teach you how to actually do well in your own. Because I've been doing this long enough. I can look at, 10 ads in a market like lawn care, and I could tell you basically which one's going to be the best and making the most money. And that'll teach you what to look for. So in your market, if you want to know what you got to outdo, it'll teach you what to look for. Similar to that, ultimately it'll also help you learn how to get into certain markets, because the easiest way to get into a market too is just to copy the winning guy, finding that one, copying it, whatnot. And it'll just be, each live will do a whole niche and just all the competitors in that niche breaking it down. And then, of course, because we're in live format, you guys can then request, like, hey, can you take a look at my industry? It's, plumbing, or it's pottery equipment, or what have you. And it will break that whole niche down, and you'll be like, oh, wow, I really know what my competitors are doing now, stuff like that, while everybody else can watch and comment on it and ask, like, hey, why is this the best one? What makes it bad? What makes it good? Ultimately, we'll break down that whole thing. So similar kind of to the last one, where I'm going to show you how to write ads, write landing pages, make landing pages, I'll show you examples of multi-step funnels where we're going to do a quiz landing page, because I know a lot of people asked about that. How do you make a quiz landing page, Corey? I've heard you talk about that all the time. But here's one we made. Here's how to do it. Here's what to do with it. Here's not what to do with it. Here's how to make a good video ad. You can see this part is, we have the hook here. Here's how you make a hook, so on and so forth. So it won't just be search ads, Google search ads, Google landing pages. It'll be, how to create a funnel, how to target info terms, how to make sales videos, all of it. Because I've got all these examples working from past clients, and I can give you actual real examples, not just theory. So anyway, with that said, I was going to see how that goes. This is actually going to take me some time to fully put together, mainly for the one where we're going to talk about breaking down how to write ads and make landing pages, because I've got to actually put in a quick access archive every single ad that we've ran, every landing page that we've ran, so that when we go into these, I can quickly pull them up. But I'm planning to do that over the next, let's say, 90 days. But I'd like your feedback on that. Do you think that this will work? Do you have any just feedback on, how it would be better, or what we should do with it, or any other maybe even live stream ideas? Because unlike my whiteboard videos, I don't have any visual examples there, which is the biggest complaint about them, right? I actually started the whiteboard videos to be different, because everybody else is doing the same screen share videos, and I wanted to have my brand be different. Not to mention, there's only so much I can share with our clients' accounts, given that their stuff is confidential. If you show their entire funnel that's working, then you can get into some trouble, so to say. So to show you an actual full in and out, click this, that audience, that, it's hard to do. But what I can do is describe how the funnel works and what to do, and you can replicate it on your own. And then these live streams, we can get into actual using and getting into some visuals too. What an actual ad that works looks like, what a landing page that works looks like, ideally. So I thought that would be, to me, it's obvious that this is going to it'll work, and probably put our channel on the map as the #1 channel in this space that everybody goes to about how to run ads, since most other creators don't get into the particulars. And if they do show other ads, they give general theory or ideas. They don't understand, what's the details about it that really make it work, how they work, that kind of thing. So I'd like your feedback on that. Apart from that, as far as stuff, current event stuff that's going on, the big thing right now, AI Search Max, Google's pushing this more and more. I made a video about this that's going to be coming out. Be careful with this. Whereas AI search results are pushing the normal search ads out of the way more and more all the time. This is true. It's affecting organic traffic. It's also starting to affect paid ad traffic some. It's still really hard to monetize for 95% of the niches out there. And if you test it out, you should test it out on a small scale basis, not just fall for Google's hype and where they get you to, spend on placements that basically don't work with it at the end of the day. So something to be aware of. And for that matter, the general gist of, as far as it comes to Google, what they're coming out with nowadays, a lot of it is nonsense. You got to be able to sift through the stuff that's actually productive and not. Because if you just go with their recommendations without understanding how stuff works and will it apply to your actual business, you're going to end up not getting anywhere with what you're trying to do, which is why I make the videos I do and try to cover all these different features as they come out. So something to, if you don't take your business seriously, Google nor anybody else is going to take your business seriously. Google's trying to make money for themselves, and you got to apply, you're a steward of your own business and your marketing dollars. So you should keep that in mind. Anyway, I will keep the preamble just with that on today's live. I'll get into the questions. We'll get right into it. So, Doleridge, first of all, I'm currently an affiliate buying and selling final expense calls, but I want to learn the publisher side of things. Is your page geared towards this? So, final expense calls, by the way, is essentially pre-planning of a funeral. So before you die and croak, you can actually pay for your headstone, your funeral costs in advance, so that when you die, your loved ones don't have to pay for it. It's all not only prepaid, but pre-planned. Like, to me, it's creepy and weird that you'd want to design your own headstone and make it look cool before you die. So, but that's what he's talking about here for the rest of you guys who have no idea what that is. So when you say is your page geared towards this, I'm not quite sure what you're asking per se. For the most part, there's really good tutorials on Facebook already for this niche since it's so prolific. And I can actually point you in the direction of ready-made ads that you can use as far as ad copy. Facebook ads are the best for this and get calls for around $30 each. The big problem in this space, honestly, is closing. And not that it's hard to close for a good salesperson, but if you don't know sales, those leads are going to be worthless. If you're great at sales, you'll knock them dead all day long. And the people that are in that business, they end up running out of time because they can only speak to so many people. And then they try to find other people to close the calls. And finding good salespeople to do it that can actually close is the hardest thing. And that's where the real bottleneck is. So, which is, I presume, why you sell the calls, because the calls are not the hard part, it's the closing. So anyway, maybe you could clarify what you mean with is your page geared towards this. For the most part, Facebook lead ads are what we use in the final expense space. Think, grow, successful. Hi, Corey. I'm doing affiliate marketing for GLP-1. I saw in one of your comments you haven't seen people making it work on search, but would need for display. Can you elaborate what's best for this approach? So it will work on search if you've got the right margins. I don't know what your, affiliate commission is. That's, in general, trying to do affiliate for through search is extremely hard because they don't pay you enough. They always play this game where they want to pay you almost nothing for a lead and pretend like your leads are crap so you basically got to send them crap leads to send them for the price that they want. And then, or you do like a mixing where you'll take some good leads, mix them in with a bunch of shit leads so you can get the lead cost low enough to make a profit margin. And the honest thing would be for them to just say, we'll pay X amount for a really high qualified lead, and you could actually deliver it at that cost if you were really good at ads. They don't do that. They just assume because everybody sends them shit leads, they can only pay like nothing. And then you have to send them shit leads to get the cost per lead down enough to make money. That's how, if you're going to make it work, pretty much how it has to work. So you might send one solid lead for every 10 shit ones that you mix in with it to make the lead cost what it needs to be. And then they'll look at your closing rates and be like, oh, it's good enough. It works out. Yeah, that's the kind of games you got to play with it. So, with that said, in the GLP-1 space, you can make it, if you're going to send only qualified leads, you could definitely make it work on the display side of things. But the thing is, with the display side of things, you're going to need to say something that's enticing or exciting, if you will, to get them to respond. Because if you just say lose weight with GLP-1, nobody gives a shit. Okay? Affiliate marketers, they generally make money by embellishing the truth, or it's just straight up lying in order to get the lead cost low enough to make money. Given again, though, the lead buyers, affiliate, networks want to pay almost nothing for a lead. So they'll say something like, miracle GLP-1 update, costs almost nothing and gets incredible results. Inquire here. And then, of course, because they've never seen something like that before, they'll click through and they'll turn into a lead. It won't close at a very good rate, but it'll be cheap. And cheap is what the affiliate network wants. So the easiest thing to do, like I mentioned before, is just to take a fresh computer and start typing in GLP-1, buy GLP-1, go to GLP-1 blogs, so on and so forth, and then just eventually see the ads that pop up. Once you're pegged as a in-market person for GLP-1, look at their ad, look at their landing page, look at their funnel, copy it, and add your own 2 cents to make it better. Watch, taking the principles that I've mentioned on this channel and applying it to that to make it even better. And what you'll find is assuming it's not an actual end provider, like, the actual retailer selling. And if it's an affiliate, they're playing some, bait and switch game like that just because they don't pay enough, which is why I don't do affiliates myself, because I don't want to play all these games, baiting and switching people to get a lead cost that the affiliate networks are willing to pay for a lead. Hey, Drakon. The more streams and consistency, the more viewers you should get on average. That's what I was thinking, because, the way I realize this kind of stuff works is there's a crowd of people on YouTube who like watching longs. And it may vary by creator. Then there's a crowd of people who like watching the shorts, but they won't watch the longs. Then there's a crowd of people who like watching live streams, but they won't watch the longs, they won't watch the shorts. And the more content types you have, the bigger audience you'll have, because different things appeal to different people. It's kind of like on a landing page. I've mentioned on my channel before how a lot of people that I deal with, they'll say, oh, I don't want to take phone calls, or, oh, I don't want to take form fills on a lead generation campaign. And I tell them, look, you may not want that, but you're going to throw away 10, 20, 30% of your leads only providing one choice for your users, because there's some people that are hell-bent on only filling out a form. They're not going to fucking call you, no matter how bad you want it. So what? You're going to throw away 20% of your money because you don't want to take a phone call? I mean, you can. That's fine. It's your money, but it seems really dumb. Like if I put, you're making 10 grand a month in profit, and I brought it to you in a suitcase every month and put it on your desk, and I said, okay, this month I'm taking this 2 grand out for myself because you don't like form leads. You're going to say, whoa, 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 whoa. But when people don't value stuff that's not tangible and in front of them, you got to think about, what the consequences of your actions are when you are planning your stuff, because there always is. There's always pros and cons, and you got to weigh them out carefully. Anyway, at the end of the day, I've realized what's going on here. The live streams has a crowd, and, I want to make sure I have something for everybody and not just be like, well, I'm just going to do long versions of my videos and that's it, because that's what I want to do. What matters is what matters to you guys, not what matters to me. If I get into the mindset of doing what I want to do, then nobody's going to watch. So what's the point of this? Drakon, funnel audits sound awesome. Yeah. It's going to be kind of fun too, because if you always you wanted to know how your competitors are making money, you could be like, oh, do my industry, and I'll break down your competitor's funnel and tell you why it works so well, or why it's not really doing so well. It just seems like that, or maybe they're getting their leads from somebody else and that's why their company's growing, or whatever. And stuff like this. Drakon, I think live landing page and ad copy check is cool. You can get people simply from live chat. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Once it heats up and we've got a regular viewership on that particular weekly live, people will just say, hey, just audit my thing. And we'll go through and we'll audit it. Ad copy, landing page. I'll, of course, do more than... it's going to be a mix of people having me write their ad and write their landing page, and me showing an old ad and landing page that I've ran to do teaching. And we're kind of going to switch between one and the other. We'll see which one people want more. Do they want to see my old work that I've done before? Or do they want me to audit their stuff? I would think to fill the time, we're going to do both. We'll see how it goes. Thanks for your feedback. Carousel, best day of the week. Thank you. That's great to hear. Carousel, do you know what's going on in the Middle East? I'm glad you took to heart what I was said at the beginning of this live. You can ask me about anything. I don't I'm not exactly following that too well because I'm so damn busy. It's not like I have hours a day to study all this. It's not like a simple thing to really analyze. What I can tell you is, and I should have had in my preamble actually today, a lot of our clients took a hit in terms of their sales overall, not just from ads, of course, which then if you're ever wondering if your PPC is screwed up, all you got to do is, if you had your tracking set up right from the beginning in Google Analytics, is just to track how your other traffic sources are doing. And if they're all universally down across the board, it's not the ads, it's the market has shifted. And the market actually shifts all the time. People like to blame their ads for their lack of sales as the default, which is silly, because all the time there's different stuff that's going on, whether it's the weather, the news, whatever, that's going to throw off your sales, and you just got to be ready for it. People aren't going to, behave exactly the same all the time like you would want them to. It's the way that it works. So recently with this Iran bullshit, oh man, the sales just like evaporated for a while. And what happens is, this is funny. Not to say that I've obviously got data to back this up, but what I've basically seen is, first of all, the mind can only focus on so many things at once. So if something big hits the news, they cannot focus on their business because their mind's too preoccupied with what's going on in the news. And when something big hits the news, at first, nothing really happens. So you're thinking, we're going to get by easy this time. Usually, big thing hits the news, sales go to shit. But it's false hope. Because the first few days, it takes a few days just for the buildup to happen. People start hearing stuff on the news about something, and they're like, just another thing. But when the news starts hammering on it again and again and again and again and again and again and again, people start to think, oh, well, the news is hammering on this so much, so it must be important. They really just don't have a mind to think for themselves. They just, whatever the news tells them to worry about, that's what they're programmed to do and think about. It's like the robots, basically. So then once it's a few days in and they have been hammering it for like a week straight, then people are like, oh shit, maybe this is different this time. Especially with the pandemic had happened, with whatever happened there. It's almost like people have a permanent trauma from that. Maybe something like that's going to happen now. Maybe the gas prices are going to triple and my business is going to shut down. So therefore, I'm not buying anything right now. And then you get totally boned on your ads running. Your ads are, which is kind of people, if nobody's buying, it's not that they're not going to buy. What usually happens is people will still click through. They're just not going to buy. And then once enough time passes, all those people start coming back in. So you shouldn't stop your ads mainly because of that. But for sure, that time period from like 1 weekend to like 3 more weeks, you're boned. The sales are going to be garbage. Not in all niches does this happen, but I'd say in about half of the niches that we represent clients in, it's happened. And we're talking, down by 50% in some niches. So, but you just got to hold the line and understand that eventually it's going to blow over. Because what happens, actually, to finish off my thought there, is it's been repeated so much, people just half shit their pants. Then they're just going to wait and see. And then eventually it's been said so much that people are just like, fuck it, I don't care anymore. And I'm just going to go back to doing what I'm doing. It's almost like when they, announced that aliens came to Earth a couple of years ago. You'd think with that kind of announcement, people would have been like, distracted with the same kind of thing. Hit, and then people got tired of hearing it, and then nobody gives a shit anymore. That's how the news is changing so fast. That's how it works. But it takes something big enough to distract people enough for the sales to really go down. This Iran thing was definitely big enough. And still, the newness of it hasn't wore off. I've seen this enough times now. I understand what's going to happen. So at the beginning of March, they started talking about it. Weekend, sales took a hit. By the time we're in April, the sales are going to come back again. So this is the type of shit you get to deal with once you're starting to advertise in a big way. Sales go down. You don't know why they're going down. You want to start unraveling everything you're doing. Don't do that. Look at your overall traffic. See if that's all down. If it is, don't touch your ads because it's not going to help. It's going to make it worse, actually. So I can't give you any logistical breakdown of what's going on there, other than to say that I know it's going to be, the country's going to be, it's going to be 10 years before they get the benefits of any economic overhaul. And that's it. And I won't get into any my personal opinion on, stuff that's going on there, because I think it may piss off some people too. Drakon, damn, that is creepy as hell. Never heard of set up my funeral services. I guess because the people that are, I'm sure, Dadridge would agree when I say it's usually older people that are planning their funeral. The older you are, the more likely you are to plan it. So you may change your mind when you're 65 years old and you're starting to have health problems. Maybe you view it differently. LLPP. Hey, Corey, what do you think about ad copy with the low price offer versus a high priced offer? Would the higher price offer have better ad relevance, landing page scores, etc.? I now get better quality leads. Yeah, not that you're supposed to do this, but oftentimes what we do with other clients, because they kind of plant the seed of it first, I don't automatically suggest it, but is we just have 2 ad accounts running, promoting 2 different websites, or sometimes even promoting the same website. Google still let you do that nowadays, but one ad has a high price, one ad has a low price, if you will. And because there's 2 different crowds of people that buy. There's cheapskates and there's people that want quality. And you could do a lot more in a market if you have one site that's premium priced and one that's not, because of this. So as to say which one's better than the other, it really depends on your niche. Overall, I'll tell you just from personal experience that you'll usually make more money not being the cheap guy, because your margins are shit being the cheapest one. I see people chasing this all the time. And not to mention, when you're the cheapest one, there'll be some douchebag that wants to come in and be cheaper than you. And then what are you going to do? You got to make your prices change again. And then that sends your campaigns in a learning mode. And you have all this. Whereas you could just be a premium price provider and not have to worry about any of that. And then just you can use your extra margin to make your website convert better. But to my original point, I found the sweet spot is somewhere between middle and high in terms of the pricing point as compared to your competitors to make the most profit from like Google ads. Because what most people seem to want is not the cheap thing, despite what you may think. There's definitely like 25% of the market that just wants the cheap one. Most people, though, don't want the cheap one. And they're going to use the price as a determiner as to what the quality of what you're selling is. And if it's too cheap, they're going to be like, well, the quality can't be good because it's too cheap. They also don't want the most expensive one. You could look into SaaS studies. What do people do when they are given 4 pricing options? They usually choose the middle one. Same thing with donation, like direct mail campaigns. They'll have 3 donation options there for a reason, because they can use the upper and lower one as an anchor. People usually go for the middle one. So with that said, you want to be in the middle because that's where most people are. And if you're upper middle, it makes it look like a premium option. Now naturally your packaging of your product, your website has to match that standard. So it's got to be congruent. But if you can have that, that's about where you generally make the most money. Roger, for the video you did about business loans, How much was the cost per lead and how much was the full completed application on search ads? So cost per lead is going to be all the way down to 30, 40, 50 bucks. Cost per qualified application, slightly more than that. Now, the application closing rate, I'm trying to remember what the closing rate was. I believe like 1 in 3 on that. So you could get loans, in other words, for 100 to 200 bucks. Now, that said, that market's a bitch to get going, get your ads going in it, because there's so much competition. You got these big VC funded companies that you're fighting up against. So what we've learned is don't get into it unless you have enough money to bankroll the campaigns while you're building up a reputation with Google. Because if you don't, what Google's going to do is send you the lowest quality part of the traffic. So if somebody types in business loans, for example, Google knows most of that traffic is junk. It's startup companies who don't really have any money or assets. They're going to give that to you as the new guy. What you need is the 20% cream off the top. And you're not going to get that until they see your click-through rates and your conversion rates are really good. So, and that can easily take 6-12 months to get to that. More realistically, like 12 months if you don't have a gigantic budget. But what works the best there is using, allowing them to fill out the full application right then and there. So what we found works the best is send them to a landing page. You have a multi-step form. So they are asked, how much do you need to borrow? And then there's maybe 2 or 3 other questions there, and then ask them for their email and phone. Then when they do that, automatically say, here, to speed up the process and get you your quote right away, fill out the full application. That way you at least got their details and you can call them if they don't fill it out. And then what I would also recommend is when they get to the thing, you could say, apply for a business loan instantly. Even though it's not fully kind of true, if you will. But, if they fill out the application, technically it is true. You can call them up right away afterwards. But also, in order to make that work, you get it set up with your CallRail account. So as soon as they fill out that form, you have an immediate call kick off to the form, to the number that was submitted on that multi-step form. And so that you call them right away. So you can, if they don't fill out the application right then and there, you can get them on the phone to fill it out and get them submitted right away. Because if you call them back later, good luck getting in contact with them when they've contacted, several other companies and they're off doing other things. You're not going to get the same closing rates I was talking about. So that's a really important thing and step as well. I'm actually on my live that I'm going to do where we go over ads and landing page examples and so forth. I'm going to go over the business loans one. So when that eventually comes out, if you get into that live, I'll actually show you the funnel that we use for that. The live one, if you will. And you'll see for yourself, what you can do. So Carousel, what would be considered a good payout for an affiliate offer to make sense? It really depends on the cost per click in the market, right? If you're talking about search ads. But if some place was paying somewhere between $30 and $100 CPA for a lead, that's more so what I would try to go for, which, there's a few out there where you can get that, right? You can get that like in Gold IRA, stuff like this, where the deal size is $100,000. Then you can run your display ads where you're only paying 50 cents a click, and all you need is 1% of the people to fill out the form, and you're solid already, basically. Or actually a bit more than that. That's if I'm going to do it personally, you said it, Corey, this is your only way you can make money, I'm going to pick a niche like that. And I'm going to run display ads for it. that would be giving me the highest chance of success. Either that, or, I'm like I said, even easier anymore is just to sell leads, specifically hot transfers. I talked about that before, but straight affiliate, that's more so what I'd be looking at. V4X. Hi, Corey. Small question. I'm into B2C electrical service. Yep. Yep, I remember. We, of course, worked on your stuff a long time ago. Does a marketing bureau that suggests 50% ad budget on search and 50% on PMAX raise a red flag? From the first day, 50% budget to PMAX? Yeah, for lead generation like you're doing, I would not touch PMAX at the beginning. The search ads are much more tighter and efficient at the beginning. Not to say, I've been changing my mind about PMAX recently. If you do offline conversion tracking and you funnel in your converted leads so that the system can learn which leads are converted and then only count conversions if they have been verified as been qualified. And if you're not doing that, PMAX is total garbage for lead gen. Don't use it. Unless you're like in the least competitive niche ever, then it might work still. But even then, your regular search campaign would be still better. But at least it could be profitable in that case. So for that matter, people mainly use PMAX because it's quicker. I mean, that's the benefit of it, because you get less controls. It does have more machine learning capability with it. So if you get enough conversion data in there, specifically the type that I mentioned there, it can actually do better than search eventually. We have seen that recently. So they have kicked it up a notch in terms of how well it can utilize your conversion data if you go with the right type. But to answer your question in the beginning, for me, there's no reason to split it up 50-50. You pick one or the other, and I'm going to pick search campaigns because I can run my keywords an exact match at the beginning and get the best results with it short term. Now, if you want to run PMAX and experiment with that, then you can add PMAX later on once your search campaigns are, profitable already. And usually one thing people will tell you about PMAX is it does better when the account already has conversion data in it already. So literally, if you run the search first, get it profitable. Once PMAX starts up, it's going to run a lot better than if you were to just start PMAX from scratch in an account without any conversion data in it, if you will. But again, I would not even use PMAX unless I'm going to do offline conversion tracking at a minimum. So maybe you run 100% search at the beginning, do your tracking upright with the offline tracking. Then you kick off a PMAX once that's up and off the ground and try to beat your search results with it later on, once you kind of hit a plateau with your search campaigns. Eventually, your search campaigns aren't growing anymore. You could try PMAX to take it up to the next level, which it could, and may deliver more value for you on. That said, guys, PMAX and lead gen, where that's mostly going to add more value is in wider niches. Stuff like, cash for houses, stuff where the search variants are really wide and diverse. In electrical services, there's really only so many ways people really search for that for the most part. I mean, it's not as bad as some in terms of there's only so many searches, but at the same time, it's not also hard to hit them all. And whereas PMAX main, its benefit is to go wider than what you got and find searches that would work that you wouldn't have thought of, if that makes sense. So they also did not suggest call tracking. Yeah, that's a huge red flag. If you want to know if any firm knows whether they knows their shit or not, if they start out suggesting don't do tracking right, 100% red flag. Now, I know you're in Europe, so that you have less competition, and that may still work somewhat. That's like the first thing you got to do before you spend any money on your stuff. It doesn't make any sense not to do that. And if they're saying, oh, call tracking doesn't matter on a lead generation account, like especially home services, total joke. 0 day. Should I be excluding unprofitable products from my shopping feed? If so, how much should I spend per product before determining them unprofitable? Yeah, that's a hard one to say because your conversion rate will dictate how many clicks you want to wait for before you just give up on a product. Very rarely do we, as a firm ourselves, just go in and start eliminating products because they're not selling well. Why? Because the algorithm is already understanding how to do that. And for the most part, a lot better than us, because they can use a lot more data that we don't have access to. So I don't almost ever go in there and just start shutting off products itself. That said, what I would tell you is I would have different campaigns for the different categories of items that you sell, if you sell different categories of items. So if you sell, let's say, home furnishings, and you sell couches and beds and tables and that kind of thing, I would have different campaigns for each. So at least then you can determine which categories as a whole are holding you back. And the ones that are doing better than average, you can scale them up first or more quickly. That really should help you. But just to say single items, taking them out, the algorithm's already, after a few hundred clicks, if it's not getting sales, it'll stop promoting it anyway. Okay, maybe not completely shut it off, but it'll definitely reallocate the budget to what's producing better results. That is something it's going to do automatically. So unlike with keywords, I really don't arbitrarily manually shut off items. I let the algorithm do its thing. I have the right tracking set up, and I dictate the ROAS that I want on that campaign and let the algorithm do that shutting off stuff on its own. LLPP. Do different cities have different optimal CPAs? Should we use ABS top of page rate to slowly increase CPAs 20% over the course of a few weeks? Low income versus high income cities. So do different cities have different CPAs? Yes, they absolutely do. Especially in home services. You can have double the cost per lead in one city over another easily. Sometimes triple. Because of just due to the number of competition that you have. That's what determines it. And top of page rate to slowly increase CPAs 20% over the course of a few weeks. Ultimately, the top of page rate for me, I'm not going to necessarily pay attention to it. I know what I need for a CPA, and I'm going to focus on that. If I can show up on the top of the page and get the CPA I want, that's what we'll do. If I can't, I won't. Because you can only optimize for one goal, right? You can't optimize for top of page and a certain CPA at the same time. It's not possible, basically. And that's all there is to it. So you got to pick one goal and stick to it. But when you start out your CPA high and then you lower it 20% at a time until you're at the CPA you want. Then you just start raising your budget when it says the campaign says limited by budget, and you keep raising that budget slowly as well, like maybe 20% at a time, and you'll just keep growing your profits. That's usually the path that you want to take to make something work and scale it. And the top of page rate, I mean, whereas it's nice to be on the top of the page where the higher converting traffic is and where most clicks are, if you are doing it at a loss, it doesn't make any sense. And at the very beginning, if you're not showing up at the top of the page, maybe you bid more to get clicks faster because you can afford to lose money at the beginning to get the engine started quicker, which is why I start out with manual bidding altogether, not CPA bidding at all. And I'll just raise the bids until I'm showing up at the top of the page to get some conversion data. Then we switch over to TCPA bidding at that point in time. Flame and Anvil. Corey, is a shopping campaign with max clicks better or best for getting data on e-commerce products into accounts? Yeah, regular shopping versus PMax feed only is sometimes better because you can better shape what the ad shows up for, what searches. Now, that said, generally, there's only some certain niches where we'll do it that way, where we'll start with regular shopping like that. Namely, with when we sell branded items. Because if we sell branded items like, Nike Air 12, shoes like that, we know unless they're searching for that specific search, it's probably not going to convert. They're going to get to our site, look around, leave, and then buy from somebody else 2 weeks later. So I want a standard shopping campaign so I can see all the search term data, not some, but all, and add aggressive negative keywords to get it honed in on what I want quicker. If I'm not doing that selling branded items, or let's say parts to a car, where I need somebody to look for a specific make model of a vehicle and then the part itself, I'm just going to use PMax and let it figure out what it needs to do that way. Feed only. Instant 100. What makes the best in S for electrical service? I think you mean ads? I'm not sure what you're asking there. Maybe you can here we go. What is the best marketing for electrical service? So, for sure, search ads. Because somebody who needs a light switch fixed or a plug fixed in their house or something like that, it's quite hard to excite a person enough from a Facebook ad to get them to fill out your form. They pretty much have to, it's got to be their idea, and they're motivated and ready to deal with it now to get a serious lead. So Google and Bing ads are what you would want to run by default. Once you get that going though, and then just regular search campaigns and exact match is what I would stick with. Have the proper tracking set up. Once you've done that though, I would try to do some Facebook ads, and there's some different stuff you can do. If you just say, hey, electrical services, you're probably not going to get much results. But if you do 50% off all light switch repairs, light fixture repairs, plug-in repairs, stuff like this, assuming you're doing residential, which are the main repairs in that space that matter and people care about, you could run that and get some leads. You can also do a offer where you tell people that you'll do an in-home audit, because if somebody has bad electrical, it could actually burn down their house and kill their whole family. So it's pretty important to get your electrical done right. So what you want to do is imply on your Facebook ad that could happen. Really, seriously. And you could offer a free audit. And when you get in there to do the audit, you could say, okay, well, you need this, this, and this, and this, and this. Here's the price. Or you could say you do that for, let's say, $99 instead, if you don't want to do it totally for free. My suggestion would be doing it for free and figuring out a sales process that's going to work, and targeting a group of people that can afford to pay, rich people. Because you're going to get an ass load of form submissions if you offer it for free versus charging even $99. Because people are going to think that it's not going to happen to them. But if you offer it for free, why the hell not? And then you could just work on the sales process to get people to say yes to it. Because I would presume almost every single time, I haven't done it personally in there and gotten in the house myself, but if you were to walk through there, there's going to be some shit wrong. Always. So, you're always going to have something to pitch. And then you just got to make them understand that you need to do it because it's an issue. Even if the light switch doesn't work that now like it's supposed to, or let's just say like, like the way that they got it wired, it's starting to erode. It's best to get it replaced. Anyway, you get my point, what I'm trying to say here. Roger Lima, which 5 to 10 industries B2C are you working really good PPC? So it depends on what you want to do, because there's a lot of niches that are high volume. If you're excellent at sales, you can make a ton of money in. But most people aren't excellent at sales, and therefore it's not going to be profitable, and you're going to get eaten alive by the other guys that are just, they're animals at it, such as like garage door repair. You can make so much money doing that. Or, like even just doing drain calls. People that have a clogged drain in their house, and then coming in and being able to unclog it and getting them to close on a 1 in 10 of the leads that you get are a sewer line repair job. That's $10,000. And, the rest of them you get on a membership program where they'll keep paying every month for priority access to your services 24 hours a day, and making money that way, and coming up with a really good sales package and process that extracts maximum value from each lead. If you don't want to do that, then there's you get into doing micro niches. Leak detection is a good one. Surveying services, wheelchair ramp installation services, elevator installation services, stairlift installation services. There's a lot of these smaller niches that are less competitive, that you don't have hardcore marketers in like this, that work pretty well. You could do motorized shade installation services. That's a really hot niche. And basically nobody's doing that. The downside with some of these is you may only be able to make $1 million or $2 million at the most dollars a year in sales revenue off of it, and make $200,000 a year in profit. I mean, a lot of people would say, "Oh, hell yeah," but a lot of guys are saying, "Well, I already make that, so what difference does that make?" So the golden rule is always to start with a small niche, because it's easier to get to work right away, and then use your money to go into a bigger niche. Those are some ones that I'm thinking of off the top of my head that are really good, highly profitable. But you need to know on those first ones I mentioned, you got to know PPC well, and you got to know sales well, both really, really well. And you can make tons and tons of money off of that. So that is on the lead generation side. On the e-commerce side, I can't really give you niches there without giving away the client's niche, because obviously every competitor entering would just make our campaigns less effective itself. I've got a great video that I came out with just recently that's how to find profitable niches that you should watch. You don't even need my information. You could literally just watch that video, come up with a niche, and have a working business in an afternoon. Because the key part of it is, just like I mentioned, is niching down far enough to where there's really no competitors left. And then you just look like you specialize in that thing, right? You can do a website that, you look at, for instance, something like installation, right? Then you look within that niche, and you could do spray foam installation by itself, right? And have a site that just specializes in spray foam. And because the consumer gets to your site and sees you are a specialist in that thing, they're going to be way more likely to convert. And now you have a massive edge on everybody else. That's the way that you generally make it as easy as possible on yourself to make money. if you will. It's just the volume's less. Or here's another niche. Air quality testing services, mold testing services, water testing services. It's not a niche where you can get more than maybe 5-10 calls a day off of Google search, but it's profitable pretty much right away, like a month or two into running the ads already. And all you got to do is bring a testing thing to your person's house, get the test, send it to the lab, give them the report back, you're done. Anybody can do that business. So general rule of thumb on e-commerce is the harder it is to manage the product, the easier it is to get it to work, the more profitable it is. So if something needs to be stored on pallets in a warehouse somewhere, that niche is almost always you're going to be able to get into it easily with the type of stuff I talk about on this channel. Why? Because all the hardcore marketers want to sell a little widget that they can put in a 3PL center easily. They don't want to manage a warehouse. So you want to make yourself easy on yourself. Think of stuff you can sell that's huge, because nobody wants to sell that. Flame and Anvil. For e-commerce, how many products in PMAX would be too many for a $100 a day budget? I have like 200 products. I don't think that's too many for that kind of budget, mainly because it gives the algorithm more ammo to have your ads actually show up for long tail searches, which are more profitable. So a lot of people think that that's excessive. For the most part, it's not. Once you start getting into thousands, though, that's the time when I would definitely go and take the data out of my store, find the top 10% of the sellers that I have, and just run a campaign with those at the start. But for 200 items, I would just stick with those as is for that kind of budget already. Carousel, you mentioned $200 to $300 payouts for telehealth offers might work on search, but for a brand new account, should I test search first or demand gen? For that specifically, I mentioned for search because I saw somebody doing this before in that market. So that's why I mentioned that one. And that was really the only one where I saw it worked, if you will, for on search. So I would say search on that one, definitely. And then demand gen second. Also because demand gen is going to work better if you have some conversion data from search already going. EHK, what type of ad would you run for real estate seller leads? I'm currently running a demand gen campaign, but finding the results aren't the best. So if you're like trying to generate leads for a real estate agency, is that what you're talking about? I presume you are. Then, search ads are still what I would be going with. And I've got some content on my channel. You can search for it in the search bar about real estate. I would watch those. But mainly there, you need to find a niche. All right. Maybe you're selling exposed brick houses. You're selling houses that have a dock, whatever. And then you target keywords related to that. Houses with dock, houses with exposed brick. Drive them to your little mini website that has just those properties on it. And then your likelihood of them entering in their information to get on your email list is actually decently high, because nobody's took the time to aggregate all the properties that way for you so well. And also you position yourself as an agent that specializes in boat docks. So of course, if you want a house with a boat dock, you're going to definitely call that guy. A lot of people don't do that because they think, I'll limit myself. But in real estate, there's no way in hell I would do that unless I was specializing, at least with what I know about running ads. If you're talking about getting people that want to sell their house fast for cash, like cash for houses business, the search ads are still it. Demand gen can work. also. The honey hugs. Hey, thanks for showing up. Wow, we got a lot of questions today. Didn't even get time to get through all of them today, unfortunately. I've got a few minutes left. We'll see what else I can do here. Pepe. Hi, Corey. Love your content. Thank you for what you do. Hey, thank you, Pepe. I'm glad you welcome aboard the channel, and hope to see you around. Pepe. I run Google Ads for a small mental health practice in the U.S. with budget of $1K. I run high-end search campaigns with phrase and exact match keywords. Do you think that is the right idea? Yeah, basically it is. So in that space, you're going to do the best by niching down. So, depression treatment. In other words, the people looking for specific treatments, I would target all those keywords first instead of just like mental health treatment services, stuff like that. Because you should be able to get a better ROI that way, but certainly the mental health general keywords will still work. Just don't, or at least test the service specific ones, if you will, or illness specific ones. For the most part there, doing offline conversion tracking really matters in that market. So you're going to want to track whether they schedule an appointment or not, and use that to steer your campaigns with. In that space, it makes a big deal. Flame and Anvil, you know how changes cause your campaign to tank as it relearns? Are the clicks you're getting during that time low value as they still cost the same? Thanks for the love your weekly chat. You're the man. Thanks, Flame and Anvil. So, yeah, that's the whole deal, right? When you go back into learning mode, you're getting boned because Google, whatever they thought that they learned that, in terms of the portion of your traffic of within the targeting that you got that worked, that they learned worked for you, and also learned that they work for everybody else. They suddenly forget about it. Now you go back to the way that it was near the beginning of you starting to run ads, where your conversion rates were lower because you were getting traffic that wasn't as good a quality for the two reasons I just said. And then, a week or two later or whatever, it comes back. I don't know why still to this day they do that, other than to say that they think they need to reevaluate if everything's the same, because it may not be the same, and they don't want to take a risk during that week with the new changes that it doesn't perform for their audience. So therefore, they're just going to go with the second and third runner up that they like, the second most, the third most. But yeah, the conversion rate goes down because the mix of traffic you get is different. Even though you're targeting the same exact keywords, the portion of the keywords traffic that you get gets changed up, or the part of the audience that you're targeting gets changed up. Carousel, for STAG campaign, how many keywords do you recommend, and what is the minimum search volume to aim for per STAG campaign? So I usually don't use STAG, I use full SCAG, but with that, and not to say, it works pretty close to, SCAG. It's way better than not having STAG at all. But for that, I'm going to say probably 3 to 5 keywords for the most part there, and up to 10. So that's the general answer. One more I think I'll do. Excited for the additional live? Yeah, I think that it'll work well. Carousel, you would run Gold IRA as an affiliate with display instead of demand gen? Okay, when I say display, by the way, that term display, I use that as a placeholder or catch-all. Display means, for me, any non-search engine related ads. Okay, so when I say that, don't assume I mean Google Display Network per se, even though I know that can be confusing. Demand gen first, absolutely. Roger Lima, could you talk about the cost and conversions for business loans and cost per lead and application and conversion rate from leads? So I mentioned that already. I will, and also I'm at the top of the hour here, and I got another meeting lined up here that I got to be on. I wish I could get through the rest of these, guys. I apologize for rambling too much at the beginning. I should have did less of that and more just talking about what you guys wanted me to talk about. But I appreciated either way the questions that all of you gave me and the feedback about what we want to do to do more of these lives. The fact that we have several lives, 5 lives a week that we're going to do will mean more time to ask questions, of course. As these lives get more popular, you'll have your time to ask what you want to ask. But apart from that, hope that you got some value out of this live here, even though I didn't get through everything. And I'll see you on the next one. Hopefully I'll see you on Wednesday on the live optimization. If not, I'll see you next week. You can ask the same questions there. And if you just get on first, ask the same question. Of course, I'll get to it first and definitely answer it. So thanks. See you later.